Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you on Friday, December 8th for our weekly review video, but let's not kid ourselves. Obviously, stunning Bitcoin pricing this week. Keep in mind this chart here. Hopefully my little thing isn't blocking that. Goes back. This is the 1 week chart. See, a week ago, we were around wondering if it was going to crack through $11,000, then blasted through that. And then in the last couple days, it seems as if things just got really crazy there. It was either Wednesday or Thursday. It's like every time you're wondering when's it going to break through 13,000, then it breaks through 15,000. As you can see here, just stunning, absolutely stunning. I've heard that it got as high as 19,000 some exchanges before dropping back. Today, excuse me, is about 16,500 bucks. Might add that Litecoin, which I'm proud to say I wrote about in Arcadia's November monthly market snapshot when it was back around 50 bucks and seemed like a good buy to me. Fortunately, I bought some. Hooray! And wow, I'm a silver investor in something I've won went up. How about that? But in all seriousness, if you've been studying the silver market and waiting for the dollar to see its demise, certainly was nice to see what can happen when you do your research, understand what's going on, and you're not trading in a bank rate market. And, again, I think a lot of what you're seeing with the cryptos is what you'd be seeing with gold and silver, where the bank's not sitting there and able to write tons of paper gold and silver they can't deliver. But in either case, what else can you say? To the point almost where it feels a bit manic. Certainly, without question, there is wild speculation going on. Although, as we'll get into a little bit in a minute or so, certainly if you're trying to time short-term moves, I wish you the best of luck. Again, I used to be a specialist on the New York Stock Exchange trading equity options, which is a bit short-term in nature. And I wouldn't have the first clue how to know when it's going to go up to 21,000 or down to 10. Although, perhaps what I love about the whole situation is that if you look at it from a little bit of a longer-term perspective, and it's a bet against the current government system, I guess is the simplest way I've come to know it, where you have the dollar that's printed, we printed away 99% of its value since the Fed came along. So there you go, Bitcoin solution to that. There are other ones like Salt or Musigo that are Veritasium that are attacking other bloated banking infrastructure. I like how Reggie Middleton, in his interview with Cliff High, and Reggie Middleton being the founder of Veritasium, and I don't know if I'll get his quote exactly right, but he kept talking about his targets were any place where value is being wasted, like mortgages, especially, I keep thinking of Medicaid, because God only knows how much fraud there is in Medicaid and how much the government loses on top of it. And if you think I'm just imagining government losing money, again, listen to the Dr. Mark Skidmore interview on Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog, where basically Luke's from Michigan State, economics PhD, mapped out how the government, not only do they have undocumented adjustments, which is basically saying we don't know where the money went, of over $21 trillion, but after he started researching, they pulled all the files down so no one else could check them. So things like this are what people are realizing. Hillary Clinton doing all sorts of nefarious stuff that's almost too wild to imagine. The Bushes too. They're both parts of the same party, just to let you know the secret. But that's why you know, when you hear the Clintons selling uranium to the Russians, I'm like, geez, is it really that? Things really gotten that disturbing? And that led me to put more money into cryptos because I saw something moving in response to that. Again, similar to what I do believe you will see. Hopefully, obviously, although I think there are things, I know I always think there are things happening in the gold and silver market and we're close. Although I'll just say stay tuned and we'll see what the next couple months have. Yet, in the bigger term picture, you know, I see the cryptos and gold and silver as a lot of things. Although if you wanted to look at it in a base case, I see it as a bet against a failing system. And finally, something that we can switch over to and not be controlled by the Rothschilds anymore. So God bless that. A new feature that we'll introduce into our weekly wrap-ups. Just take a quick look through. From my trading background, I've always felt there's something to just that you're actually looking at the price of something every day and seeing it, you know, getting a feel for how much it moves. Certainly, if you have positions, that's one good way of remembering things very clearly, because when you make or lose money, it takes on a little additional significance, especially in that subconscious computer we're carrying around. There's Populous, which I was fortunate to buy some of about a week and 2 weeks ago, and went from around $10 to 25. So Omizigo at 842, been a little silent this week. Big move out of Salt and Veritasium, goodness, up to $173. So you're seeing a lot of movement back and forth between Bitcoin and some of these, as they're called, altcoins or utility tokens, which you essentially, again, you can think of as actual companies, just rather than following the traditional Wall Street dollar-based model. You know, and again, maybe that's another good way of thinking about it. Rather than that model, we have an alternative now, which is crypto space. So essentially a version of the capital markets where banks don't just eat the entire cake and throw you a crumb. Speaking of bankers, one of everybody's favorite bankers, I say that sarcastically, of course, Jamie Dimon, who a couple months ago called Bitcoin a fraud. It's interesting, on CNN, which I don't go to too often these days, but once in a while. On the same article where he called it a fraud, there was a video of a guy, a reporter, I lived on Bitcoin for 24 hours. But anyway, the point here, Jamie Dimon, whose firm J.P. Morgan has paid a lot of fines for different fraudulent markets over the past couple of years. And again, I'll be careful of how I phrase this, although there is a widespread belief in the financial markets community that J.P. Morgan is doing some things that are less than on the up and up in the silver market, which, again, I'm just sharing my opinion as an analyst. I do certainly believe. So hopefully that passes compliance there. Of course, Jamie Dimon called Bitcoin a fraud. Jamie Dimon is a banker, and Steve Wozniak is the co-founder of Apple, and he said it's even better than gold. And the reason I put this in is that I know there's a degree, I guess these things get lumped in together a lot, although when people are new to Bitcoin, the two main things are, is it a bubble and is it a fraud, or is this just a bunch of computer geeks in their basement somewhere? So again, two separate issues, but just from the standpoint of people who are wondering, is this technology really something that's useful? Does it actually work? So aside from the investment part, one of the things I spend a lot of my waking hours doing these days is reading about folks like Steve Wozniak, who, again, you know, I can't speak to the computer coding element like he can, but I can take his opinion and factor that in. And when he says there's a good quote from him somewhere in here. Oh yeah, elsewhere in the discussion, Wozniak added that when he first learned about Bitcoin, he admired its mathematical properties, but did not understand how the blockchain worked. However, now that he thoroughly understands it, he is a major proponent of both blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Yeah, there's a lot more to cryptocurrency than just Bitcoin. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have skipped this paragraph. In addition to Bitcoin, he says he's excited about smart contract platforms like Ethereum. He believes smart contracts will open up many possibilities as the tens of thousands of software programs that no one could have imagined before the invention of computers. So again, not like Steve Wozniak is perfect. You know, maybe he has a good or bad day every now and again, but the thing that stands out to me is in, I'd say 6 years or so that I've been familiar with Bitcoin, I've never found someone who understood it and has used it that wasn't blown away by the technical capability. Now, again, there is going to be, if there's some fair value, anything can get overpriced. But just in terms of if you're still wondering, is this a real legitimate product? Well, not only do you have Steve Wozniak saying yes, but take a guess who pops up back here as apparently having a change of heart. Maybe Bitcoin isn't untouchable at all. J.P. Morgan weighs helping clients trade Bitcoin futures despite Dimon's criticism. I'm wondering what his clients would think. He said that previously any of the bank's traders bought or sell Bitcoin would fire them in a second. I believe he also called them stupid as well. So I wonder if he's going to say that directly to his clients. I'm guessing not. Usually that's how it goes in banking, is my experience. But anyway, isn't stopping the bank from looking at business opportunities in the Bitcoin futures market. You may have heard the CME group is seeking to launch a Bitcoin future by the end of the year, which is actually fascinating. There's one school of thought that it can give the banks a way to finally manipulate Bitcoin, similar to the scheme that's orchestrated in precious metals. Although, let's call this from the rumor mill, so by all means don't go out and do anything based on this, but just what I found interesting, having heard in a couple different sources, is that somehow this backfires on them to the degree that potentially maybe affecting the precious metals markets. Again, I wish I could be a little more specific there, although what I heard was a little vague, although I've heard it a couple different times in a couple different places from a couple different people that usually have good information. So certainly we'll keep an eye on that, which is happening. I believe there's something that happens on the 10th, and then as we see here, again on Zero Hedge, J.P. Morgan has some bad news for Bitcoin bears. Go to the quote here. And now with just 2 weeks until December 18th, when Bitcoin futures will start trading on the CME and the SIBO, J.P. Morgan's reversal has gone so far as promoting one of the bank's top strategists, flow and liquidity author Nicholas Panagirtsoglu, to predict that the introduction of Bitcoin futures, and by the way, I'm really proud of my pronunciation of that, just in case you're wondering. Yet I'll continue here. To an emerging asset class, which sounds quite different from Bitcoin as a fraud. There are things that are frauds, and there are also banks, and I will leave it at that. Of course, we don't want to leave gold and silver out of this baby altogether. Interesting, it seems J.P. Morgan all over the news this week, saying that gold's time to shine will be at the end of 2018. Wow, kind of hard to ever guess when they say something like that, what it actually means. Although what they did point out here, J.P. Morgan pointed out that it estimates 5 more rate hikes between December 2017 and December 2018. I'm going to easily take the under on that one. 5 rate hikes between now and 2018. I'd say 4% chance of that happening. The Fed's already talking about the thing melting down again now. Yellen's unconventional, this or that, that she thinks we're prepared to return to, unconventional policy. John Williams, I believe it was, out of the San Francisco Fed, guy's talking about negative interest rates and income level targeting, which God only knows what that means. It does, I'm sure it's not good. So, just for the record, we're here on December 8th. Wow, I guess that Fed meeting is going to be next week, Wednesday. And being priced in as if it's fait accompli that the market is going to raise rates, or the Fed is going to raise rates. I think if the market hadn't been saying it, of course rates would go up, but the Fed, I personally wonder if that's, I guess I would say maybe it's more likely than not, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a surprise, shall we say. So see how that goes. In the end, what I would be happy, if I'm allowed to legally say this, but hypothetically, I'd be happy to trade the under on 5 rate hikes between now and then. Keep in mind that as you raise interest rates, it means you're taking money out of the system, especially you have a lot of toxic assets that are based on low interest rates. So similar to how, think back 2004, Alan Greenspan started raising interest rates. You had massive problems in the housing market. The whole thing is only bigger now. And again, Bitcoin, this Bitcoin and J.P. Morgan week, just again from the standpoint, because what it really comes down to is, in my opinion, it appears as if we have technology that we're by nature going to need to use. And as much as the market has grown, it's still about 450 billion, whereas the world stock markets are about 76 trillion. So what I keep looking at least from a more medium or long-term investing perspective, is this stuff actually being used? We've heard the Maduro or the Petro. So they're going to a new crypto-backed currency in Venezuela. Now, whether the government crypto-backed currencies will work or not, I don't have the answer for that one today. But again, here you see Turkey's central bank admits Bitcoin is a threat to the global banking system, which makes me want to go out and buy even more. And I just keep thinking about how that dollar's lost 99% of its value. Just if you look at where gold was, and Fed was invented, and the price of gold now, and back out the math. So I mean, it's like that's how much has been stolen through the inflation. So if we have something to combat that central bank scheme, I say good news. And then just last story of the week here, PricewaterhouseCoopers, first Big Four firm to accept payment in Bitcoin. So again, part of why I expect, as much as you've seen things get wild these last couple of weeks, a lot of these companies that are in the crypto space, that are companies as opposed to perhaps currencies, but a lot of them are actually doing deals and beginning to be used. A lot of announcements I'm hearing going to be rolling in December and January and going forward, and just that the adoption is going to continue to grow. So from my standpoint, if you have that much money in the current system and we're adopting something new, then it sure looks early, still early to me. Doesn't mean you have to go directly to Bitcoin, which has certainly gotten pretty, it's gone up a lot. But I've been aiming for some of the alt tokens just because relatively it's like you have an extra security layer. If something, if you see Bitcoin going up and you think there's some correlation or relationship between the two and the other one hasn't gone up and again, we're all making our best guesswork on what are the true valuations. I mean, these are startups, so a lot of it you don't know how it's going to go. So which is why, by all means, do your homework. Just go out and keep learning, whether you're investing or just fascinated by what's going on. Or if it's just investing a small amount of money to get started and help understand how some of these things work. But more than anything, hopefully you found this helpful today, at least giving you some things to thinking about, helping understand why prices are moving so much and what might happen going forward. So with that said, we're going to sign off for today. Leave your comments below. Love to hear from you, and we'll see you again next week.
The land of our